So hello everyone, this is Allison Rimland, licensed professional counselor in Denver, Colorado, and I'm here with my friend and colleague Kristen Volk, who owns Parenting by Connection. And we are here today to talk a little bit about what Parenting by Connection is and hand-in-hand parenting. And as many of my clients know, I'm a huge fan of Parenting by Connection. I use it myself. I'm a student of the parenting technique myself, and just here to share a little bit with you about what Kristen does and what Parenting by Connection is.
Great.
So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you so much.
joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you. So my name is Kristen Volk, as Allison said, and Parenting by Connection is a parenting program that was designed by an organization, a nonprofit organization out of California called Hand-in-Hand Parenting. And it really focuses on support for the parents is one aspect of it. So rather than leaving parents alone and frustrated and isolated, giving parents a lot of support to really elevate them in their parenting. And also giving them some information to help them understand how children's brains work, how their emotions work, and then taking that information and the support that they can get through Parenting by Connection and creating their own actually network of support, which is free, then they can really, we've seen over and over and over again, parents transform in their relationships with their children.
Absolutely.
It's extremely powerful.
Yeah. And it's true that we are so isolated, aren't we?
Yes, we are.
Compared to how families used to be, where you'd have lots of support and grandparents and aunts and uncles around you. We kind of do it solo.
We do. We're solely, well, society thinks that we're solely responsible for the upbringing of our children. And so we tend to parent alone. And the hard things that happen in our families, they feel dangerous or shameful to talk about out in our communities or even with our closest friends if we're. And so reaching out for support that's non-judgmental, not giving advice, not trying to fix us as people, but really elevating us as human beings can really shift how we interact then with our children.
Right.
And create great opportunities for more loving, caring relationships. And that's what we all want.
Because I think we can all be sort of under this pressure to be perfect parents.
Yeah.
I know that that's come up for me. Like whenever my kids are really struggling, I have this dialogue that says, "Oh, you should have been able to prevent this, Allison.
Right.
You know, you're messing this up somehow." And Parenting by Connection is different with how they look at
well, there's
emotional moments, right?
Absolutely. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. So we're all just doing the best that we can.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. So, and I say that in my classes as well. I'm like, I have struggles just like everybody else does.
Yeah.
But I hold on to Parenting by Connection because it's a lifeline. Because I know that, if I screwed up, if I didn't get the parenting award that day, or I fell short in some way, it's like I can start over again. And I have the support I need to start over again too. So every moment is a fresh moment to do that too.
Oh,
which is really
I
helpful.
love that idea. Clean slate.
Right.
That was yesterday. That was an hour ago.
Right.
Start fresh.
Right. Yeah. You can get support and someone. So we get support through what we call listening partnerships. And so if you have, if you fall short as a parent, you can actually we have these relationships called listening partnerships where you can actually do it on the phone or you can do it in person, and you can get the support that you need, and you can actually tell someone about the difficulty that you just had, and that person respects you in spite of how you responded. If you didn't respond perfectly, they know that you're a good person and they believe in your goodness. And that's part of that relationship. And so it's like, I guess I'm not so bad after all.
Well, what are your other favorite things about Parenting by Connection that drew you as a parent?
Yeah, so there's lots of things. I guess for me, it really helped me to feel empowered as a parent because I could start to understand. Parenting by Connection teaches enough brain science to really help to understand what's happening inside of a child's brain when they're having emotional moments, or when they're getting triggered and stored memories are popping up. So when your child is looking over at their sibling and everything's just fine, and all of a sudden they bop them on the head, and we sit there and go, what were you thinking?
Right.
We actually know now what's happening inside that child's mind. And so having this basic understanding of how the brain works helps me not to put so much blame on that child for doing something wrong or bad. And we really, parenting by connection comes from a place of really recognizing the basic goodness in a child, in all human beings, truthfully.
Right.
But starting with, all children are born with this kind of basic goodness and wanting to love and be loved. And so when they do these things that are unreasonable or don't make sense, we have a better understanding now of why these things happen.
Right.
And so then I can respond also. What we also teach in parenting by connection is that isolating the child isn't helpful to their mind. It's not helpful to the situation that's going on. In fact, it can create more difficult, hard stored memories too. And so by... Like
a timeout or go to your room or something like that.
Yes.
That kind of isolation.
Exactly. So we would, for example, move in and give eye contact. We call that stay listening. And we move in with warmth. We keep everybody safe. And we would maybe say something to the child like, I can't let you do that, sweetheart. And we let them offload that hurt that they're feeling that caused that off-track behavior in the first place, so that the child can get back to a place of thinking.
Yeah.
So it's giving me tools to understand situations, and then also giving me actually lots of options in terms of how to respond to those situations too.
I'd love to have a little listen in on your brain about one of those moments. Like, let's say one of your kids whacks the other one. What would you be saying to yourself in that moment?
So, and part of that, again, I'm not a perfect parent.
Of course not.
So,
what are you doing?
So part of that will depend on how resourced I am too.
Yeah.
So am I getting listening time, for example, to help keep me resourced?
So the more listening time you've had, that's going to help you feel resourced in those moments and respond in the way that you're hoping you would.
Exactly. Okay. So it helps me to have more patience, more understanding, more understanding of where the child is coming from too, versus my own trigger of, I don't like, violence and aggression, so I don't just react. So when I am resourced, then what would go on in my mind is something like, oh, my child is not connected. I can tell my child's not connected to me. I need to create some connection. I need to keep everybody safe. And so I would perhaps do something playful. It depends on the situation, but you can do something playful. So I would come up and just grab my child and say, no, you can't do that, and create some laughter in the situation, because laughter actually has a healing component to it, and can help to release tensions in a situation. And it also creates connection as well. So, or I might set a limit. So I might warmly and gently come up to my child and hold their hand and say, sweetheart, I can't let you hurt your brother. And then what that does is that, again, if she's feeling, I'll just say it's my daughter, for example, if she were to be feeling frustration or disappointment that would be causing her to have this unreasonable behavior, then I would hold on to her hand, for example, again, gently and with warmth and offering connection. And there's nothing she can do except feel that warmth. She can't hurt anyone. And so it supports her in actually offloading the hurt that she's feeling and coming back into connection with me. So it's just a very powerful approach with so many different ways of actually creating connection in a family. And I found that for me, it's really been a paradigm shift from maybe what I grew up with, or maybe what I thought really good parenting looked like.
But it's interesting, the more I learn about parenting by connection, the more I'm like, this is a fit for me.
Yeah.
It feels good to think about really fostering strong connections with my kids, and not being harsh with them or anything like that. That's not how I want to be as a parent. That's not how I want them to experience me. So I'm loving the parenting by connection.
Yay!
Yeah, it's great stuff. Somebody that was taking one of your courses or getting some coaching from you in parenting by connection, what might tell you that they could benefit from some kind of couples counseling?
Sure. So, yeah, parenting, being on the same page relative to parenting can be very challenging, because we come from different backgrounds, different philosophies.
Yeah.
You know, one person might go in the direction of parenting by connection, but then the other parent doesn't. They want to go in a different direction in terms of how their children should be parented. So it can be very challenging, and initially we do recommend to really explore through listening partnerships what your own challenges are and what big feelings that are coming up for you.
Yeah.
And also sort of what's getting in your way, because we're all trying to do our best. We really are, especially when it comes to our kids.
Yeah.
We're just working so hard to love them well, and there's just things that get in our way sometimes.
Yeah.
And so we also recommend in listening partnerships that what is getting in your way of remembering that your parenting partner is doing their best too, and doing some work on that in listening partnerships.
Right.
And then if you're still having conflict, which can easily happen because, again, we come from different backgrounds,
right,
it would really make sense to really get some counseling that can really help with understanding what your patterns might be, and what perhaps your negative thoughts might be too, that are coming into that relationship, and ways that you can really get support for having better communication in the relationship and helping to make joint decisions together in the relationship as well.
Yeah.
So it could really be helpful to get couples counseling in your parenting.
I love that idea of kind of figuring out what the big feelings are for yourself, because parenting can be such a huge, humbling teacher, can it, right? I feel like I've learned so much about myself in becoming a parent, and sometimes it takes a while to sort of figure out those feelings. And then I'm kind of hearing that, like, you can go through the same process with your partner, learning about their background and what their big feelings are that come up. And I imagine by doing those two things, kind of figuring out your own map of your emotional territory as a parent, and then figuring out your partner's, it's probably going to help a lot of couples to avoid that conflict. Versus, kind of, well, my way is the right way, and you're really messing this up, and you should do it more like me. If you really kind of approach it from a totally different angle about what is this whole parenting journey like for you. Right.
And it's interesting because I hear a lot in my classes too, people say, oh, I've been through so much counseling, I thought I was done with all my hard stuff. But what happens when you become a parent is, well, prior to becoming a parent, you could still avoid things by going out to eat with your friends, or when hard times came up, you could feel better by doing a whole number of things, reading a book, going to a movie, going out with your girlfriends, or, having the friends over for dinner. There's all kinds of things that you could do. But once you have children, you're all of a sudden in this much smaller box and limited in terms of these different outlets, and the hard things for you are sort of right in your face. And your spouse is also there, so if there's disconnection with your parenting partner, that's also right in your face, and you can't escape so easily. So getting support for yourself
can't go on a walk
reasonable.
Long walk with a friend if you've got kiddos.
Right, exactly. So it's really important to recognize that and really get some support for yourself.
Yeah. Well, Kristen, thank you so much for joining me today. I can tell that we have lots more to talk about, so I hope we get to meet again soon, and create some more videos and interviews about what you do as a Parenting by Connection coach.
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was a great pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.